And they're like, oh my God, I'm 45 and I want to, I want us to have a baby, but they're entering perimenopause. And what do you do with that? And then a lot of times my juju mamas have PCOS, they have cysts on their ovaries, and the doctors say that they can't have a child. And I'm like, most of my juju mamas had PCOS or have it, and they have gotten pregnant, full-term pregnancies, late 30s, early 40s. And it's happened. And they're not waiting months. These women have waited years. They finally come to me and they get their breakthrough.
Are you curious about discovering ways of making your life better? Then welcome to my podcast. I'm Bob Nickman, and this is The Exploding Human. Listen in while I talk with all kinds of people in the fields of personal growth, health and healing, alternative therapies, psychology, spirituality, environment, and the future. I'm looking for those answers that make life better for everyone. You'll meet cutting-edge practitioners, doctors, artists, filmmakers, business people, and those who have overcome challenges. The brave, the curious, anyone who is out there helping us humans to explore, expand, and explode. Hey, welcome to The Exploding Human. My name is Bob Nickman. My guest today is Tamara B. Smith, and we are going to be talking about issues around fertility with women in their 30s and 40s, and particularly women of color. But first, I'd like to invite you to visit my website, theexplodinghuman.com. Over there, you can listen to episodes, read synopses, see photos of my guests, read a little bio on myself. There is also a YouTube channel where you can listen. That is The Exploding Human with Bob Nickman. As I said, my guest today is Tamara B. Smith, and she goes under the banner of Tam Inspires. Tam is an advocate, and she guides women, particularly in their 30s and 40s, on transformative fertility journeys. Her unique approach connects spirit babies and guides. She dismantles blockages and addresses all aspects of fertility with a deeply spiritual approach. We talk about trauma, ancestral trauma. She's got a very interesting story because she started doing this and decided to put up something on Instagram. And all of a sudden, she got people contacting her to help them. And she's helped many women over a period of years to get pregnant where they were not able to. She deals a little bit with the physical aspects, but she is also able to work with people who have other types of blockages in the emotional and spiritual realm. I really enjoyed talking to her. She's a great person. I'm going to let her tell you how this all came about. So here she is. This is Tam Smith. Good afternoon, Tamara. Tam. We're going with Tam. Yeah, much easier name for me to say. Yeah. Less syllables. You're in Houston, Texas. I'm in Los Angeles, California. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk about pregnancy, fertility, Black women, all kinds of wonderful topics that I haven't talked about at all on this show. And I'm all about, body, mind, and spirit. And that's what you
absolutely
do. So you're the perfect guest. And I was so happy I got contacted about you. So tell the audience a little bit about what you do, because this is really fascinating to me. I'm so interested in what you have to offer today.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited to be here, Bob. Well, I'm Tam. On social media, people know me as Tam Inspires. I help inspire people, but I help women get pregnant by assisting them with tapping into their juju, their power, using themselves, their ancestral knowledge as a tool to create their babies, whether it's through manifestation, through candle magic, affirmation, visualization, connecting with different spiritual guides, and it's working. I've had hundreds of juju mamas. That's what I call my clients, juju mamas, get pregnant, and it's beautiful because they're healing. They're healing on an ancestral level, cellular level, and I love to see it. I really do.
Yeah, I do too. Especially, there's something about when women want to have a child and they're not having the child. Yeah. And let's talk about that for a second. So somebody comes to you and they say, I really want a baby. I feel the spirit, or I don't feel the spirit. I just want a baby. It's that calling. It's that natural thing that people want to, procreate, have carry on who they are.
Yeah.
What do you think the biggest, let's just put the physical difficulties out of the way, because some people do have physical situations.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we'll get to some of that, but
Mm-hmm.
on another level, where do you think most of the blockages come from, people opening up to be able to get pregnant?
A lot of it, in my fertility readings, a lot of the blockages are ancestral. A lot of the blockages are your mindset. They keep repeating these loops sometimes. A lot of my juju mamas, they say, oh, they've had a miscarriage, or they've had abortions, or they think they can't get pregnant, and they think it and they vocalize it. And I always tell my juju mamas before the reading, renounce every ill thought in your mind, every saying that you can't have a baby, because you literally made a contract with your future self that you cannot have that baby. So we're breaking these limitations off of our mind, off of our spirit, and sometimes it's ancestral. Sometimes it's acknowledging your ancestry and healing the trauma from your mother, your grandmother, or even your father. And let's not even talk about their partners, because a lot of times their partners have to be connected within this healing process, because their partner has all this trauma. They have had relationships where they were a part of the decision to have abortion. They've experienced miscarriages. And so, that's where the healing is. It's so much. It's so broad, but it's different for different people. And I just love seeing it spiritually, what it is.
So when you meet with somebody, you're going to sit down and have a very in-depth conversation about who they are, what's happened to them, and what do they, it really comes down to, what do you believe?
Yeah.
I believe I can't get pregnant because, is there anything with shame about abortions?
Oh, it's a lot of shame there. It's a lot of resentment there, a lot of regret. And so we uncover that, because, we can't heal it until it's revealed and uncovered. And it's an emotional journey. But during my readings, it comes up. I always say my readings uncover a lot. And then a lot of times their spirit guides, usually their ancestors, come through and they comfort them, or they're like, I see you and this happened to me, and I want you to heal not only yourself, but I want you to heal me. That's probably why you're going through this, because I dealt with this, and now you have the tools, and the access to actually heal yourself. You're healing generationally.
Do you work exclusively with Black women, or do you work all kinds of
mainly it's Black
backgrounds?
women. I get women of all colors, but mainly Black, Hispanic, Asian, and white women too. But it's mainly women of color, and it's beautiful. It really is beautiful, and they're in their late 30s and 40s, and that's even better.
Well, that's a belief too, that it's like we were saying before we started, like, young women are very fertile for the most part.
Yeah.
You just look at them and they get pregnant sometimes,
Oh, yeah.
But then when women get a little,
say that.
yeah. And a lot of women get older and they've done careers, and they like, I can do it later. I can put it off. And they're not quite as able to, get pregnant.
Yeah.
And I think some of that is, and then if that happens a few times, I've been trying for 3 months, I'm nothing, 4 months, 5, whatever it is. And then they think, oh, that's for sure. That cements the idea even further.
That's what I see as well. And also they get divorced and they meet the love of their life, maybe the second or third one. And that person doesn't have a baby, right? And they're like, oh my God, I'm 45 and I want us to have a baby, but they're entering perimenopause. And what do you do with that? And then a lot of times my juju mamas have PCOS, they have cysts on their ovaries, and the doctors say that they can't have a child. And I'm like, most of my juju mamas had PCOS or have it, and they have gotten pregnant, full-term pregnancies, late 30s, early 40s. And it's happened. And they're not waiting months. These women have waited years. They finally come to me and they get their breakthrough. And that's when I'm like, oh, this shit is real. Like, I have this gift and I got to share it, and they're healing their bloodline, and they're actually tapping into their own spiritual power. I always tell my juju mom, it's not about what spiritual belief you believe, because I get women of all kind of traditions and religions. They see this, they know that spirit is limitless, when working with me anyway. but they see the change and the love, and we're transmuting the pain. We're transmuting all that energy to something so fertile and something so creative. We're birthing ourselves. Like it's like a rebirth they experience with me.
That's a beautiful way to put it. I love that. I love that idea. I was telling you before we started, when my wife and I wanted to have a child, that she went to a swap meet. She came home with this tiny little rocking chair, a kid's rocking chair. And I said, "What's this?" She goes, "Oh, that's for our baby." So do you think that's going to actually help? That's going to work? She goes, "Yes, I do. I absolutely think it will." Because I'm getting the house ready for the baby. And that's what she tells her younger friends, or she did for years. Like, don't be afraid. Get the nursery ready before you even get pregnant. Make and talk to the spirit. She's my wife's a very spiritual person, and it sounds very, magic-y and woo-woo and all that stuff, but that stuff's real. I'm sorry.
It's real.
It works too many times. It works.
I agree. It's real. The spirit baby is real. They always come to us, or they send some kind of sign for us to get ready for them. And sometimes it's immediately, other times it could be years, depending on what's holding them up. And the fact that your wife, got that rocking chair. A lot of my juju moms, I tell them to create a fertility altar for their spirit babies. A lot of times I see their spirit babies in a reading. However, they didn't acknowledge their spirit baby. They had a miscarriage and then they just don't grieve them. And that baby's like, "You didn't even grieve me," and I'm like, you're going to have to do this ritual so that you can go through the proper grieving process and give your baby a name. Let your baby know that it's not necessarily just about you. You actually want them there, not for selfish reasons, but for love and the fact that you have a lot to impart into their souls when they embark on this earth. Sometimes I have couples come together ritually to acknowledge the children that have been aborted or miscarried. A lot of these babies, they just want to be acknowledged. They want names. They want them to know, like, we're real. We're yours. We're your bloodline. We just didn't manifest fully, and sometimes they have to be released into the spiritual realm. Like a lot of the babies sometimes are kind of like stuck, kind of like what the Catholic purgatory in a sense, but they're kind of stuck and they want to be released back into the ether so that they can come through the womb again, so they have to ascend. Yeah. Yeah.
It would be a tough, I don't know, on a spiritual, I had a friend that committed suicide a long time ago. And he had visited me a couple of times well, the first time he came, that I was super aware of, was he was there when my son was born. He was in the operating room, and I didn't say anything to my wife, but I felt him there.
Yeah.
And he was there to help or something like that.
Yes.
I don't know what. So we get home, and a few days later, we're talking, and she says, I didn't say anything, but Bill was in the delivery room. I don't know why I call it the operating room. That's a terrible word for a delivery.
It's the same thing in a sense for some.
Well,
in
convention, in hospitals, it is feels like that. And I said, "Oh my God, I know. I was, I felt him."
Yeah.
And and he came to help, and also for him to find a purpose, because he had come to me in some other way and basically said he knew he'd made a mistake and he shouldn't have done what he did. But this was him doing this work, from this, wherever that is, the spiritual realm. And it was quite extraordinary, because we both had the same experience without talking about it for days. And then we both brought it up.
Wow.
So it's, that life force, that spirit lives in a place that what you're doing is you're tapping into that and allowing it to open and to be something that isn't mysterious and inaccessible. Those kinds of things that a lot of us on the, looking at things conventionally would go, that's not science. Well, it's a type of science.
We're multidimensional beings, right? So it's no wonder that we're seeing things on another dimension. Your friend coming, guiding, you and your wife on your journey. The ancestors do that. They show up as friends, like angels and other deities come through. Like, it's real. It's so real.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. And you just, because you can't like physically touch it or,
Yeah.
take a photograph, you can't really do that. But
they're there to guide us. They really are. And with my Juju mamas, their ancestors come through all the time. The grandmother, I had one Juju mama, her grandmother came to her in a dream after my reading. And I told her that. I said, just be open. You're going to get your grandmother's going to come to you. I can't tell you when, but just be open. Her grandmother came to her, gave her specific instructions. She followed those instructions. In 3 months, she was pregnant.
Let's talk about the physical impairments to people getting pregnant. Because there is, whether it's a nutritional thing where, the system is too one way, unhealthy, not quite there.
Absolutely.
And then there's physical issues if there's been some sort of injury or, who knows what it is physically. So do you deal with that too? Or is that, how do you handle that part?
That's a really great question. I am a detox therapist. I deal with the holistic side. I used to do consultations on that, but the thing about that is people are hard-headed. They're not disciplined. But a lot of my Juju mamas, they have, diagnosis with PCOS, endometriosis, and fibroids, which is nothing but too much estrogen not being filtered out through your liver. That's all it is. And I usually say, get rid of that dairy, that cow's milk, because most of the time, Black people, we're lactose intolerant. Our body is not even digesting it properly. We don't even have the right enzymes in our body, and then I'm like, if you're going to eat meat, at least organic, and not the heavy meat like the cow. And, if you're going to eat chicken, make it organic, but it's just too much estrogen. So a lot of my Juju mamas, they take a lot of fertility herbs, and I'm like, let's work on the liver. Let's get the liver. Let's strengthen the liver. Let's detoxify the liver, and then work on the other herbs to tone and to balance the hormones.
Well, the food is a very personal
it is
thing, and it's very emotional, and it goes way back to connecting with your parents and how you grew up. And then there's also addiction to certain tastes and
yes.
And smells and habits that are really hard for people to. Well, I'm not giving up. They always call it mine.
Oh yeah,
I'm not giving up my
that
pizza.
Dairy especially.
You know what's funny? When I was a little kid, I didn't like milk. It was like disgusting to me, and I was told to drink it because it's they thought it was healthy.
Does your body good, right?
And not mine.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
And I was like, boy, when I get out of this house, I'm not drinking stuff. Or when I get a certain age. But, parents think they're doing the best they can for their children. And it's absolutely. It's funny because kids will tell you certain things about what a natural kind of way of being is. But if you're programmed to think a certain way, you're going to think they're just being difficult.
Yeah.
And I was talking to somebody the other day about, because we were talking about conventional medicine, which I'm not, opposed to, but right. I hated going to the doctor when I was a kid. Now, some of it was because I didn't want to get a vaccine, because they were giving them out but the other part was the environment just seemed harsh. Didn't feel right. The doctor's attitude didn't feel right, and he wasn't a bad guy. He just was a doctor. He had the doctor mentality, the white coats, the fluorescent lights, the tile floors, the medicinal smell, the paper on the exam table, the fake seriousness of it. It was an awful experience. It wasn't a loving, healing experience. And as a kid, I'm like, I don't want to go. And it's not that I wanted to play or do something else, which I probably did, but it was that this doesn't feel right. And I think part of what you're doing is you're letting people tap into what feels right.
Yeah, and giving them confidence to actually walk on that journey and showing them that they actually have help, not just help from me, help from their guides, and that's beautiful. That is so beautiful.
Yeah, I know you got very teary there for a second, which I love.
Yeah.
How did you get into this? I mean, what is your background that you were led to this this calling?
Well, in my 20s, I was on birth control. You know, my mother always said, "Hey, don't bring babies home." And so, from 15 to like probably like I don't know, early in my 20s, I was on birth control, and I decided to get off because I didn't feel one within myself. You know, like I felt numb. You know, and then I started educating myself on the fertility awareness method. And once I learned that, I got certified in it. And I'm like, oh, you know, I'm trying to prevent pregnancy at that time, right? I wasn't thinking about babies. And so I helped so many women prevent pregnancy. And then women started coming to me about getting pregnant. I said, it was the same concept. And so I started to do that. But then I started seeing spirit babies.
Wait, and then let's go back for 1 second, because now I'm fascinated with being able to not get pregnant without birth control. Is that what you're telling me? Tell me this. I don't know. This is the first time I've heard this.
Fertility awareness method. So I use, there's different names, depends on who created the method. I don't get caught up in that because people have been doing it before then. You know, some doctors just want to put their name on stuff. But anywho, it's the simple thermal method where you take, you track your symptoms, whether it's your cervical mucus, you know, your discharge is like egg white or, you know, kind of like creamy, or you take your basal body temperature with a thermometer every day at the same time, and you log it into a fertility app, and it creates this chart. And in this chart, you know what phase of your menstrual cycle you're in. You can also see what's going on with yourself hormonally. And so, like, we have our peak ovulation time, and usually your temperature spikes up and it stays up for a while. And that means, you know, a lot of other hormones spike up. So yeah, like I learned, like, your body shows you what's going on, but people, they didn't teach us that in school, these methods, right? They just said, get on birth control, or use condoms, or, you know, your period is just going to come every like 28 to 32 days. And that's it. And your ovulation time is only day 14. And I'm like, that is not true. I've ovulated on day 12, 13, 19, 17, 15. And that's how people get caught up.
But no, so you're basically scientifically, biologically tracking the messages that your body is giving you. And if you know what that is, and, you know, it's a little bit of work, but
it is a lot of work.
Yeah,
it's a lot. And that's why, you know, a lot of women who were trying to prevent pregnancy, they just got back on birth control, because it is a lot when you have, you know, a partner that's just very, you know, sexually vivacious, and, you know, so it's not easy.
Right. It's you know, who knows where you're going to be what night and what's going to happen.
You know,
I'm not going to get this chance again.
Right.
Right. My personality is a great method of birth control. That's what I was.
Or not.
No, yeah, that's a joke. That's a joke. Okay, so now we're getting into. So now we know optimal times, scientifically too, biologically. So there's some optimal times.
Yeah.
And then there is, you know, I just thought of this. This is a little bit of a left turn. You ever encounter situations where the woman wants to get pregnant really badly, but the partner is saying yes, but they really don't? They really don't want a kid. They don't want it.
I'm so glad you touched that. It comes up in my fertility readings all the time. Like, I have a card that says he doesn't want to have kids. It comes up a lot. And I tell them, I'm like, he's not gung-ho on having kids like you are. And I'm like, no, he wants. I'm like, no. Like, he may outwardly show it just to appease you, but something deep in energetically is not aligning. And he is the weapon that is formed against you. Okay. And they're like, but, you know, and I'm like, you're going to have to talk to him, you know, like, or her. Cause sometimes I get same-sex couples. Like, it's real energetically. They're not aligning, and they're in denial. They really are. Like, a lot of my Juju mamas, they really are in denial, and I'm trying to break them free from this denial.
That's a tough one, because it may not be that that they don't love them. They probably do love them.
Oh, they do. Oh, yeah.
But they just don't, like, they're scared. Maybe they're scared to have a kid, or maybe they feel financially I can't afford it, or what's going to happen to her once there's a kid? Am I going to be pushed into the, second, third place?
Yeah.
Am I not going to have
fears?
Yeah. I mean, I used to say it out loud. I said, just don't cut your hair and get fat.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, at least you know what, you know that right? Right. But no, these subconscious fears are not just with the partners. It's actually my juju mamas. These fears are coming out through this reading. And they're like, oh my God, like I've been battling with this and I don't know how to stop it. And I'm like, sometimes it's good to see a therapist. Sometimes, a trauma response, like a trauma, what they call it, sensitive or informed therapist, because I'm not certified in some heavy stuff. I can uncover, but it's your job to be guided to the person that's going to really help you dive deep into it. Now, I can take them through it ritually, but I haven't started that phase because it's very taxing on me. But yeah, ritually we can unlock a lot, but they have to, there's certain sequences that they have to go through. Yeah.
There is a lot of traumatic experiences that kids have. They don't even realize it because they don't really have they're born into a situation where they don't even, their baseline isn't even normal for a healthy situation. I mean, let's say you're born into a family where you're not that wanted, or the parents are just overwhelmed and they're neglectful, not even abusive. That's an obvious one. But let's say they're just like put out. They're annoyed. You see these people sometimes. It's they got a bunch of kids and they're just annoyed by them. It's like, well, why did you have them? I don't get it. But and that would kind of inform a feeling of feeling less than or worthless. And it's like, well, why would I want to bring a kid into a world where I'm worthless? Or what if I do the same thing as my mother did or my father? That would be a tough one.
It is tough. And that's where the readings come in to uncover these things. It comes up. Everything you have said, Bob, has came up in a lot of my readings. And you have to uncover it to rewrite the narrative, because they're going to be constantly in this loop of rejection and shame and resentment. And I'm trying to destroy that loop, like rewrite it, like let's speak affirmations. But yeah, and then I love how you said about the rejection energy. I tell my juju mamas, don't get caught up in the gender of their child, because spiritually, they're already rejecting their babies. And it's okay to have a desire, but if you want a boy and you get a girl, you're already rejecting her. And so she's already feeling that. And then when she's in your womb, she's already adding more to the trauma that you're giving her, so it's deep. It's really deep.
Well, I've known personally people that have told me and my wife separately, different people. My friend was, his wife was, he had a daughter. His wife was pregnant a second time. And it was a girl, and he called me up and he was so upset. I don't want a girl. I want a boy. Wow. It's time for me. When do I get what I want? I love my daughter, but I want a son.
Yeah, I get that. I do.
Yeah. And I do too, I guess. I mean, I never experienced that. I was just, pleased to, have that, I guess. Of course, my first kid was a boy, so I don't know if I had had two girls if I would have felt that way. I'd probably not, but I'd like to think that it's that I trust the universe a little more than my own wants.
Yeah.
And she had my wife had a friend who she didn't want a daughter. She just didn't want a daughter. That went back to her relationship with her own mother, obviously.
Absolutely.
I don't want to repeat that. I don't like my mother.
Healing those wounds. I'm so glad you're speaking on it. It's so true. A lot of these wounds are what happened to them, what happened, mother wounds, father wounds. Or just, I know somebody, he's a man. He didn't want to have a son because he didn't know if he could be that father figure to him because he never had a father. And that's deep. That's really deep.
Yeah. Sure. That would be
Yeah.
a deep insecurity about things,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
these readings. I'm curious about the readings. Are you using cards?
Mostly I do, but a lot of times I sense things, sometimes their ancestors are so excited that they just give me messages and I'm like, okay, you got an ancestor and they're saying this and that's all I know. And it's 15 minutes into the reading and I'm like, okay, well, let me pull some cards. But it's like, really wasn't even about that. It was about their ancestors giving them what they needed at that time. I tell my juju mamas, I don't like to do things by questions. It limits them. It limits their ancestral expression. And I'm going with them. Like I may say, hey, you may know the gender and the season and stuff like that. But a lot of their ancestors, they're like, no, do not put limits on us. This is my daughter. She's not listening to me. So we're going to use you. That's why we led her to you. And she's going to listen to you and, do not put any limits on us. And I'm like, okay, cool. And it comes through and they're like, oh my God, like they cry. They're like, oh my God, they want to go deeper. And I'm like, oh my God, like I don't have to train to go deep. I'm not a therapist, but I can energetically, work some things out for them if they're ready, but it's beautiful. It's interesting with my readings because when I started seeing the spirit babies and just having a knowing of somebody's going to get pregnant and what gender, my ancestors gave me a dream of my own fertility card. I used my own fertility deck and I woke up and I knew every card, what it looked like. And I created it within a week. It was shipped to me and I went on TikTok, did a fertility reading just for fun because these are my babies, right? My cards. And I went viral. And everybody asked me, do I do fertility readings? And I was like, no. But then I opened my website up, the scheduling, and I was booked out at that time for 3 months.
I love that. Oh my gosh, that is fantastic.
Ancestral led, and then everybody was getting pregnant at that time. And I'm like, oh my God, this is real. What did I get myself into? Because Bob, I don't know if you know, I don't have kids right now in this realm. So some people they don't ask me about that. Tam, do you have kids? No, they're like, Tam, she's the mother of the mothers who brings the babies home. They see me as that. And I know my babies are going to come to me when the time is right. But right now I am helping out the mothers. I'm the mother. I'm the guide of the mothers who are bringing the babies home. And I'm all for that. I'm so satisfied. I'm so satisfied.
What an amazing calling. How old is the oldest spirit baby that's now a baby walking around? How old is that? How's the oldest one right now?
It is 2023. I would say 5,
okay.
5, 6. Mm-hmm.
Now, do these women introduce you to these babies?
They show me pictures. So one thing about me, I don't show pictures of the baby online because I
would think you wouldn't. I would think that would not be appropriate.
Protected. Yeah, but they show me pictures. I have my little pictures in my phone, and then I have 4 sets of twins.
I was going to ask you about twins or triplets. I'm
a twin.
Are you?
Yeah.
2 beautiful women walking around?
Oh.
unless your twin is a boy, I don't know.
No, she's a girl. But yeah, it's beautiful. But 5. But it's been a lot of babies. And the thing about it is it's beautiful, but let's talk about there's also another side. A lot of my juju mamas, they may get pregnant, but then they have a miscarriage. And I see a lot of fertility workers out here, they don't show that side. Mm-hmm. But they hop in my DM and we talk, but they don't broadcast it. But I do because it's happening.
It's the truth. It might as well be said because if you're somebody that thinks the thing that's happening to you is unique, you're not going to vocalize it. You're not going to be able to get help. Yeah. So the truth is the truth. Whether you like the truth or don't like the truth, it's still the truth.
Yeah. And it's beautiful that the collaborations that I have with other fertility educators, when they do experience a client having a miscarriage, they do send them to me because, ritually I can help them. So, and it's beautiful, help them heal. Yeah.
What does your twin sister do? I'm just curious. This is just.
Oh, she's a Marine. She's a warrant officer.
Wow.
I know, right? Look, just
amazing how we come in. You're twins, but you're different.
Different life. Yeah. She's about to retire and she wants to work for the Pentagon. And I'm like, that's great. I'm gonna be a spiritual leader and you're gonna be a I don't know what kind of leader you are, but you got your own secrets, right? You gonna work from there, you know?
Did we grow up in the same house?
Yeah, sometimes I wonder the same thing. I do. Yeah.
I have a friend who he's a lot younger than me, but he's a triplet. And I've never,
Oh, wow.
I don't know, I didn't know any triplets. And I go, what are your brothers like? He's, because they're completely different than me.
Yeah.
Both of them, and physically different.
Yeah.
He's tall, really tall and thin. He goes, they're shorter, they're stocky.
Yeah.
They're interested. He goes, I don't know where we came from because we were born at the same time, but we are could not be more different.
It is so true. That's how my twin and I are. We're so different. I'm taller. She's shorter. She's a size 4. I'm a size, add a 1 before that, so it is before that. Just saying,
Well, I just love what you're doing. I think it's absolutely incredible. You had this intuition and you followed it fearlessly. I'm sure you were wondering, of course, because we all wonder about when we embark on something.
I still wonder.
Is this going to work?
Is it?
Wow, this is really cool. I as somebody who has always been attracted to the spiritual side of things.
Yeah.
I do a lot of sort of alternative medicine interviews and different things about healing in the body and all that, but the spiritual stuff is really fascinating to me because it doesn't get addressed as an integrated thing with the health stuff as much as I think it should be. It does, but it doesn't, not enough.
Right.
That can be a missing aspect. If you don't integrate all of these things, then you might be missing the piece. Like you were just talking, we're talking spiritual, but if your liver needs to be detoxed, you're not going to bypass it with a prayer. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. And what they say, anger is held in the liver too.
So if people want to get a hold of you, ladies and gentlemen, if you are wanting to have a baby and you're having some roadblocks, you're not exactly sure what's going on, and you want to get a hold of Tam, she's going to tell you how to do that and also talk about her. Are you on Instagram or TikTok or both?
I'm on Instagram and TikTok, but I'm mainly more on Instagram now. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's tell the good people out there who want to have wonderful children and bring those spirits in. How do they get a hold of you?
Everyone, y'all can reach me at taminspires.com. That's my website. And also I'm on Instagram at Tam Inspires. And they're, one word. Yeah.
Well, you do inspire.
I know. It's great, right?
Tam Inspires. She does it everywhere she goes. You're doing it right now.
Oh, yeah. But you got to be inspired to inspire. So I'm inspired by a lot of other people too. So.
Yeah, me too. There's so many wonderful people doing wonderful things. And we always hear about, the world has gotten, terrible this way and it's divided and it's terrible this way. Well, I think there's just as many people doing great stuff. That's my experience. And maybe that's just because that's what I focus on, but
it is because that's what you focus on.
Right.
You're right.
But I don't want that other kind of thing in my, it's a short ride here, it's getting shorter every day.
Yeah. Enjoy the beauty of everything. That's how to live.
Well, I have really enjoyed talking to you. I just found this to be really a joyful afternoon talk. I don't, I haven't delved into this topic at all. So I'm really happy that this happened. And if there's anything I can do for you, let me know. Other than publishing this and sending it to you when it's ready.
I appreciate you. Like I listen to a lot of the podcasts you have done, and I'm like,
thank you. Much success on Tam Inspires, folks. You know where to go to find more about Tam Inspires. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Much appreciation for you folks listening to The Exploding Human. The website is theexplodinghuman.com. The YouTube channel is The Exploding Human with Bob Nickman. Once again, I want to thank Tam Smith. Please check out Tam Inspires. I know she inspired me. So have a beautiful day. Thanks so much.